यदि मामप्रतीकारम् अशस्त्रं शस्त्रपाणयः धार्तराष्ट्रारणे हन्युः तन्मे क्षेमतरं भवेत्.
I would consider it better for the sons of Dhritarashtra to kill me unarmed, unresisting, rather than fight with them. It is custom, according to Kshatriya fighting principles, that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attached. Arjuna, however, in such an enigmatic sometimes English words are hard, position, decided he would not fight if he were attacked by the enemy. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All of these symptoms are due to the soft-heartedness resulting from his being a great devotee of the Lord.
Sanjaya uvacha एवमुक्त्वार्जुनः सङ्ख्ये रथोपस्थ उपाविशत् विसृज्य सशरं चापम् शोकसंविघ्नमानसः.
Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. So that's the end of chapter 1. It says, thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the first chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized.
Sanjaya uvacha tam thatha कृपयाविष्टम् अश्रुपूर्णाकुलेक्षणम् पिषेदन्तमिदं वाक्यम् उवाच मधुसूदनः.
Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion and very sorrowful, his eyes brimming with tears, Madhusudana, Krishna, spoke the following words. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance in the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. A man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Sudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose, the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the supreme authority, Lord Sri Krishna. This realization is made possible by working with the fruitive being situated in the fixed conception of the real self.
श्रीभगवानुवाच कुतस्त्वाकश्मलमिदम् विषमे समुपस्थितम् अनार्यजुष्टमस्वर्ग्यम् अकीर्तिकरमर्जुन.
The Supreme Person, Bhagavad Gita, said, "My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life. They do not lead to higher planets, but to infamy." Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavad Gita throughout the Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the ultimate in the absolute truth. Absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal, all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavagan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus. Vedanti tat tattva vidis tattvam yash yam advam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavagan iti sabyet. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding by the knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavagan. These three divine aspects can be explained by example of the sun, which also has three aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced. One who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman feature of the absolute truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to the knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the supreme absolute truth. Therefore, the Bhaktas, or the transcendentalists who have realized the Bhagavagan feature of the absolute truth, are the topmost transcendentalists, although all students who are engaged in the study of the absolute truth are engaged in the same subject matter. The sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another, and yet students of the three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavagan is explained by the great authority Parasara Muni, father of Vyasadeva. The Supreme Personality, who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation, is called Bhagavagan. There are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached, but no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No living entity including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayana, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord, or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara, Pramama, Krishna, Sakshidananda, Vyagra, Anandir, Adir, Govinda, Sarva, Karnarana, Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because none can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primal Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. In the Bhagavatam, also there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead, but whom many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Ekt Kamsa Kala Pumsa Krishna to Bhagavan Siyam Indri Ari Vayakolam Lokam Murdayanti Yuga Yuga. All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead, but Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Therefore, Krishna is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, the source of both the Supersoul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expressed his surprise with the word kutas, wherefrom. Such unmanly sentiments were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim is realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardness is described as benefiting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from duty does not help one in progress of spiritual life, nor does it give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsman.
क्लैब्यं मास्मगमः पार्थ नैतत्त्वय्युपपद्यते क्षुद्रं हृदय दौर्बल्यं त्यक्त्वोत्तिष्ठ परन्तप.
O son of Pritha, do not yield this degrading impotence. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastier of the enemy. Arjuna was addressed as the son of Pritha, who happened to be the sister of Krishna's father, Vasudeva. Therefore, Arjuna had a blood relationship with Krishna. If the son of a Kshatriya declines the fight, he is a Kshatriya in name only. And if the son of a Brahmana acts impiously, he is a Brahmana in the name only. Such Kshatriyas and Brahmanas are unworthy sons of their fathers. Therefore, Krishna did not want Arjuna to become an unworthy son of a Kshatriya. Arjuna was the most intimate friend of Krishna, and Krishna was directly guiding him on the chariot. But in spite of all these credits, if Arjuna abandoned the battle, he would be committing an infamous act. Therefore, Krishna said that such an attitude in Arjuna did not fit his personality. Arjuna might argue that he would give up the battle on the grounds of his magnanimous attitude. For the most respectable Bhisma and his relatives, but Krishna considered that sort of magnanimity not approved by authority. Therefore, such magnanimity or so-called nonviolence should be given up by persons like Arjuna under the direct guidance of Krishna.
Arjuna uvacha katham bhishmamaham sankhye dronancha madhusudana ishubhi pratiyotyami pujarha varisudana.
Arjuna said, O killer of Madhu, Krishna, how can I counteract with my arrows in a battle men like Bhishma and Drona, who are worthy of my worship? Respectable superiors like Bhisma, the grandfather, and Dronakarya, the teacher, always worshipable. Even if they attack, they should not be counterattacked. It is general etiquette that superiors are not offered even a verbal fight. Even if they are sometimes harsh in behavior, they should not be harshly treated. Then how is it possible for Arjuna to counterattack them? Would Krishna ever attack his own grandfather, Ugrasena, or his teacher, Sanipani Muni? These were some of the arguments by Arjuna to Krishna.
Guruna hatva hi mahanubhavan shreyo bhoktum bhaikshamapiha loke hatvarthakwamastu gurunihaiva bhunjiya bhogan rudhira pradigdham.
It is better to live in this world by begging than to live at the cost of the lives of great souls who are my teachers, even though they are avaricious. I don't know this word.
Avaricious.
Avaricious.
Greedy sons of bitches.
They are avaricious. They are nonetheless superiors. If they are killed, our spoils will be tainted with blood. According to the scriptural codes, a teacher who engages in an abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned. Bhishma and Drona were obliged to take sides of it's been a while I've had to say this word, Duryodhana, because of his financial assistance. Although they should not have accepted such a position simply on financial considerations. Under the circumstances, they have lost the respectability of teachers. But Arjuna thinks that nevertheless they remain his superiors, and therefore to enjoy material profits after killing them would mean to enjoy spoils tainted with blood.
न चैतद्विद्मत्कतरन्नो गरीयः यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयुः यानेव हत्वा न जिजीविषामः तेव स्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्राः.
Nor do we know which is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. The sons of Dhritarashtra, whom if we killed, we should not care to live, are now standing before us on this battlefield. Arjuna did not know whether he should fight and risk unnecessary violence, although fighting is the duty of the Kshatriyas, or whether he should refrain and live by begging. If he did not conquer the enemy, begging would be his only means of subsistence. Nor were there certainty of victory, because either side might emerge victorious. Even if victory awaited them and their cause was justified, still, if the sons of Dhritarashtra died in battle, it would be very difficult to live in their absence. Under the circumstances, that would be another kind of defeat for them. All of these considerations by Arjuna definitely prove that he was not only a great devotee of the Lord, but that he was also highly enlightened and had complete control over his mind and senses. His desire to live by begging, although he was born in the royal household, is another sign of detachment. He was truly virtuous, as these qualities combined with his faith in the words of instruction by Sri Krishna, his spiritual master, indicate. It is concluded that Arjuna was quite fit for liberation. Unless the senses are controlled, there is no chance of elevation to the platform of knowledge, and without knowledge and devotion, there is no chance of liberation. Arjuna was competent in all these attributes over and above his enormous attributes of his material relationships. And I will pause here because it's like a few seconds from 8 o'clock. So anyone can share their thoughts or questions.
So Alexandra, once again, Krishna is saying you have to do your duty, and Arjuna is saying all the reasons why he thinks he shouldn't kill his cousins and relatives, even though they've gone to the dark side, it sounds like, or at least partially. So this is an ongoing thing. In fact, I was looking at some of the beautiful colored plates in the book, and there's a couple of, actually more than two, I don't know how many pictures of Arjuna, just like this, looking very dismayed that he has to kill these people who he's loved and respected.
I feel his conflict and I hate it.
Yeah, when Pam was reading that, I was thinking of you and the impact it must be having.
Like I said, the only way I could see myself doing that if my kid was in imminent danger, to be told, you got to go on the battlefield and do this because it's going to prevent bad from more bad from happening. I don't know that I could pull the trigger. But Amanda explained, I guess there's different personalities, and there's another personality that can do it for the greater good.
Yeah, really, anyone's capable of anything. We don't realize until we're put in the circumstances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not that you're going to go off and murder all your cousins. I'm just saying that we can't know, right? It's like Pam did this interview last night with this woman who helps all these prostitutes, and she was just talking about how they ended up there, you know, and it was so sad. And she just kept beseeching everyone to think about, you know, if you were put in those extenuating and extreme circumstances, you know, you might end up the same way. It was like, oh, heartbreaking.
Yeah, and I think that like he's using in this book a very extreme example of killing, but we can tie it to any internal battle, a tough conversation we need to have with somebody, or a choice we need to make. And I was telling everyone before we started, like listening to Natalie speak last night. She's the executive director of Voces Latinas. And after reading American Dirt and watching Oprah Book Club, she has 2 episodes on Apple TV about it. And like, I do not feel this way anymore, but I can't say that maybe over a year ago I didn't feel this way. Like this just idea of like, well, they have choices. No, they don't. Like these people legit do not have choices. And you can agree with that or disagree, whatever. I'm not going to tell people what to believe, but these people would not just pick up and leave their beautiful city in Mexico to flee to the United States to continue to struggle if they really truly had a choice. And this is what they're trying to teach us through the book and through these conversations, not in this book, I mean, in the American Dirt book. And I'll save that I'll get into that more next week when we have discussion, but the violence that these people are facing and the poverty, it is extreme situations. And they come here and they work as sex workers and they have major health issues. They can't understand our language. They're not paid properly for the work that they do outside of sex work. And they're professional human beings, some of them. Like they have degrees. And they come here just to send money home to their family, their children. They're separated from their children. I don't know. I can't, if that was, I don't know. And but then I think about this yoga story and it's like, I hold compassion for those people. And I'm not saying this in a very like, I have a hard time hearing those stories and being like, is this truly their path? It's very hard. But to think about if they stayed in Mexico, it's life or death, literally. That's their decision. If they don't flee, they're going to die.
I lived their pain and saw their struggle because I grew up in a restaurant. You know, most Greeks have diners or restaurants. And, you know, even my parents, although, you know, I don't think they were the greatest people, they showed empathy to people who didn't have. But no matter what, I saw them and I saw others treating these people like they were low class, second class citizens. They just were not treated like everyone else. And they worked for nothing, you know? And it's sad how it gets trickled down in your life, you know, even when they go to the new place, you know, they're still labeled, they're still looked upon, and it's still a struggle. I mean, they would work for $60 a day where the waiter or waitress was making $125, and they worked harder than everyone else, you know.
Yeah, Natalie referred to some of the population she's working with as, she calls them a subpopulation because people don't even see them.
That's right.
And they're right there.
Yes.
And it's a lot. But I mean, I have to say I'm proud of the people that are speaking up and changing things, like Natalie, like Oprah, who brought this book to her book club, and it did stir up major controversy. And it seems like there's gonna be major shifts in the publishing industry. It's 80% white. And they're not publishing enough Latinx authors. So what I think about this, like, are the adjuners of this situation are those Latina authors that stirred up the pot and were like, why aren't you publishing our book? And they went to their own battle. It wasn't like they were shooting people, like literally, but that's a lot of work to say something when something isn't right. And that needs to happen more. And that's where I see Arjuna. That's how I tried to find the Arjunas in the world, or the ones that are the change makers, I should say, the selfless leaders, that are doing their work. It's their path. Like Janine almost, like, Oprah asked her, like, do you almost wish I didn't pick the book? And I can go into it more. And she kind of laughed, but it's like, this was the tipping point. And I love the idea of the tipping point by, I can't remember his name, Malcolm
Gladwell.
Yeah, I always think about the tipping point. I love that. And she was it. And sometimes people have to be the tipping point.
It's nice that it gets to someone that can reach masses, because even just my relationship with them, I saw them, I treated them well. There was a few others that did, but I feel like, okay, that'll help them, soothe them a little, but they still have like 75, 80% of the population. But now when someone big, brings attention to the masses,
Yeah.
that's like hitting the lotto.
Yeah, that's gonna make a shift. But I call them ripples. Like, be the ripple. Like, if we all do the part, then eventually it causes, I call it a tsunami of love. Like, we have to keep rippling, being this like tiny ripple, and not saying that it's not enough. Like, you helping one person is more than enough. And you just keep doing that. And then that person turns to this person. And until, like, we all can feel this liberation and freedom and happiness, then we are all suffering. So we have to fight our battles, right? That's what she's teaching us.
Mm.
We have to do what's good for us. Like, I was having a conversation with Amanda yesterday, and like, I love the idea of bouncing ideas off of people, but like, you have to do what's true to you, because what's true to me isn't matching what's true to you. And I can share my experience, but we all have to make our own decisions. And we're gonna make mistakes, and we might regret it. But the good thing is like, we can turn around and say, I'm sorry, and I made a mistake. But our egos don't want to do that. So we just don't do anything. And I think that's the more harmful thing that we're learning, that we've been doing as a country and as humans, is doing nothing.
Right. It's like the boundary setting is a problem.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you have to say it's not okay anymore, and you have to take action, like you're saying.
Yeah. And we have to teach, like, our youth that that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, well, let's do some breath and move into our meditation. Practice compassion maybe today and send it out into this beautiful world. Thinking about those people suffering. And then finding your straight spine. Taking a few breaths in through the nose, out through the nose, relaxing the face. Bring your right hand over to your nose. Close the right nostril with the thumb. Inhale through the left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. Inhale left. Close left. Exhale right. Inhale right. Close right. Exhale left. You'll continue on your own breath for a few more rounds. I'm going to go ahead and set the timer now just to be mindful of time, and you'll join us when you're ready. Bring your hands to your heart. Namaste.
Is there anything we could donate? I didn't catch the first